from his studios in New York, it's time for Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Here's your host, Dan Tortora.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. You are listening worldwide. We just got a message from Seattle, Washington, so thank you to everybody that is listening into the show. Central and upstate New York, of course, Pennsylvania and Florida, all my stomping grounds, the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, all around the world. And shout out to the people that listen in other countries. Can't thank you enough for Canada, England. I want to make sure I get them all. So Canada, the United Kingdom, Spain, Italy, Germany, Russia, Mexico. Thank you for your connection to the show. And thank you for listening to real people talk about real things that go outside of the world of sports, because this is, of course, where sports meets life on Wake Up Call. And a true definition of where sports meets life is Joe Adam. I just told him off the air that having friends is one thing. Having friends that move you to be a better person is another thing. And with that being said, I bring him into the show, the former offensive line coach of Syracuse, who has been the head coach for the last few seasons of Saint Anselm in the Northeast here as their head football coach. So we bring in Joe Adams, somebody who always pushes me to be the best version of myself. Joe, how are we doing today?
Great. It's a great morning. Great to hear from you.
And Joe, you and I, to kind of get things started before we talk a little bit about football, you sent me a message this week. And I tell people all the time, when it comes to Wake Up Call or anything I do in my company, you can believe in whatever you want to believe in. I'm cool with that. I take listeners from every religion, every background, everything. Everybody's welcome. And as I respect welcoming them in, I ask them to respect, that I have my faith and I have my God and I have what I believe in. You and I connect on that. This week, in the foreground, not the background, is the fact that this is Easter week. This is a very special week to you. It's a very special week to me. And, I will be at Holy Thursday Mass tonight. So there's a lot to be said about what's coming up this week. So I kind of wanted to start there and just the importance of God and the importance of faith to you and how you and I are kind of focused on this week for different reasons.
Yeah, it's really, being here at Saint Anselm College, we're a private Catholic school, and when we made the move here, my wife and I were very fortunate, very lucky to find a great church and really, like I always say, keep the main thing, and that's what we did, and we're surrounded by a great church community here, and it has become the center point of our lives for my wife and I. And in our community outreach and the things that we're doing, and the things that I'm really teaching to our team, about pouring into each other and walking in a good way and making good decisions, and we're building men with the platform of football here, and that's a really good guide for us, is the good word. So. It's an exciting week, obviously, with Easter coming up. And when I was younger, it was all about, eggs and chocolate bunnies. And, now we've really kind of peeled back the layers of what the real meaning of it is. And if you really explore, you read John chapter 18 and 19, and you really explore and seek the word, and really look into it. It gives you quite a different and quite a better meaning, in my opinion.
And when you see that, and I just told you I started going to Bible study a few weeks ago, and it's very interesting, and it's unique, all these things. And I said there's one thing in the Bible that I find to be very real and at the same time kind of ironic and funny in a way, is that God says all throughout the Bible, trust me, have faith in me, trust that I'm sending you in the right direction. And what do? Trust for a little bit, then go off in our own direction, do what he says, then don't do what he says. And I said, here we are 2,000 years later doing the same thing, and all he says, I was like, his own son died in front of him, and all he said was, trust me, have faith in me, believe in me. I know better than you do. And when he said that in the Bible, they didn't listen. And now, there's times where we don't listen. And I just find that, in a time in my life, in the last 6 months especially, where God has been teaching me about trust and having faith in him, the Bible has linked up completely. And I always know that, God's messages are on time. So I just thought that, it's an interesting thing I'm finding in the Bible is that trust and faith are something that we've always, as a human race, had some issue with.
Yeah, we well, I kid all the time. It's like we have our timing, and especially in a now society, we want it now, and we want it done now. We want the results now, and what we find out is that it's not really about our timing; it's about His. And we have to be patient. We have to do the right things, and that's what faith is, and it's having having a movement towards something without being able to see it quite yet. So, but I echo that sentiment that you just said.
Yeah, I find it to be very interesting in the world that we live in today with that. And, to kind of to move forward here and to get into some pieces of this, you talked about, building your team. And I want to get into, the season that you just had and some other things here in a second. But in building your team and, like you said, building good young men and having those messages, what is the foundation? What is the central message kind of coming off of the faith conversation that we just had? How do you coach? I mean, I know you as a person, but when you're in that room and you're with these guys, how would you describe kind of your message and what you're trying to bring forward?
Yeah, I just challenge them to be the very best they can be, and despite what the skill set is, and some guys run faster than others, some guys lift more than others, and we have some guys that, are on our roster that maybe a little bit more of a role player. I just ask them, and I really challenge them to be their very best. And that's in every part of their life. And I want them to give their best in the weight room. I want them to give their best in community service. I want them to give their best to their families, continue to pour into each other, continue to lean on each other when it's when you have some hard times, which all young men do. And it's a learning process. And also continue to encourage guys. If you see somebody struggling, encourage them. And I think encouragement is such an undervalued thing. And we're always going to be hard on them as coaches, and we're always going to be demanding of them. And I ask the guys to just continue to encourage each other. So, we hold them accountable here in every part of their lives, and when they aren't giving their very best, I tell them. I'm just honest with them, and I say, hey, you're capable of so much more, and is this your best effort? This test, was this your best effort? Was this your best studying effort? This play, did you run the route, with everything you had, or were you jogging on it? So that's really the principle behind it, and that's what we're really striving for.
That coming from Joe Adam, the current head coach at Saint Anselm for their football team and the former offensive line coach at Syracuse. Joe, I got to ask you about, because we met at your time in Syracuse, the offensive lineman that you brought in. I talk about it all the time. I say, if you like these guys that have earned their way to be starters, if you like these guys that have kind of come up the ranks and whatnot, you can thank Joe Adam because he recruited an entire offensive line from left tackle to right tackle in one class to bring them in. And I know that you and I talked about the bittersweetness of recruiting these guys and then not being able to coach them and really see it through, but, bringing them in. There's been a lot of success. There's a lot of strong players that are on this team. Just what you could say about some of these guys and, your connection back to Syracuse in that recruiting realm that you worked so diligently to give them a future with the offensive line.
Yeah, I think, it lies with every team, and we're kind of going through this right now with rebuilding where we were 2 years ago. And when I took over this program, you have to be strong at the offensive line. And when the defense gives you opportunities to run the football, you got to run it. And your guys got to be able to move guys on the other side of the line and use great technique and have great fundamentals and be brought into a brotherhood within that room. And that's what we sought out with that recruiting class. And, they're all great people. Some of them have panned out on the field. Some of them have not. But at the end of the day, we felt like we brought the right people to Syracuse. And kudos to those guys and their development. And kudos to Coach Lester, to Coach Schaefer, to the entire group, who brought those guys in. Coach McDonald was part of that. Brought those guys in, and the strength staff continued their development, and now the staff with Coach Baber's staff and their offensive line coach and their staff as far as strength conditioning and continuing their growth spurt. And so, Cody Conway became the player that we thought he would, and Evan Adams and even Aaron Roberts and those types of guys. So it was really fun to watch. Like I said, always bittersweet, but such is life, and you have to move on.
And like you said, the last couple of seasons, trying to build back up and whatnot, going through some adversity. What has the adversity taught you? What's it done for the team? Just kind of your take on these last couple seasons where a couple wins have come and you've endured a bunch of losses as you've tried to build back up again. And, there's ebb and flow in the world of football, and there has to be patience in football. Like in a world where people don't have patience, there has to be patience. What have you taken away from these last couple seasons as you build back up again?
Yeah, it's been a tremendous amount of hard work. And have we not seen the results? No, not yet, but it is a process, and I do have faith. I have faith in myself. I have faith in the coaches. I have faith in our athletic director. And, Saint Anselm College is a very hard academic school, and there's a very certain guy that fits us. And we continue to search for that certain guy, and I think our recruiting classes have gotten better. Our players have continued to develop. And, it's just having patience. When we were at Syracuse, you have a bunch of freshmen running around like Dante Strickland and Eric Dungy and those kind of guys, and then all of a sudden they get older and they get to continue to get developed and learn from their mistakes and get more reps, and that result will come. And I think you see and you've lived the result being there in Syracuse of what it can look like if you have some patience and some faith and some continued progression towards the goal.
And I have to ask you, since you were there when he came in and, a part of that staff, I tell people all the time, if you like Eric Dungy, and I just said it a few minutes ago, if you like Eric Dungy, thank Tim Lester. Just what you can say about, because he was the one that brought him into Syracuse for the fans. Now, just what you could say about him and the next level, just what your thoughts are. I know you watch from afar, and I spoke with Tim about it and DeAndre as well this week, that when you recruit somebody, and you build that connection, you're the type of coaches, and this is why I continue to talk with you to this day, you're the type of coaches, of course you want to win, of course you want to have success, but you're good people. You're genuine people, you're faith-filled people, you build bonds that last forever. So when you have a guy that you care about and then you're not there anymore and you can't be there in the day-to-day and whatnot, obviously it's tough. So watching Eric from afar, what do you think about him in the NFL? What do you think about what he's done?
What he's done at Syracuse is remarkable, and it's really a testament to who he is, how he carries himself and elevates the game of all the people around him. He just has an it factor, and the one thing that he has and that I really appreciate is just body presence. We talk about body presence a lot in my program here, and you watch Eric Dungy probably before, during warm-ups and those types of things, and he is like a spark plug, and what a true competitor. He's the same person that we saw on film when Tim brought his film up. He's the same exact person. He's not changed. He was trucking guys in high school and could have taken the easy way out and ran out of bounds, but lowered his shoulder, and we all look at each other like, hey, this kid's got something. And he's just a quality young man. Quality leader. And I can't say enough good things about him. I hope somebody whoever takes the opportunity and takes the chance on him. I think it's a win-win situation, and he's going to will himself to success. And I know Tim knows him better than I do, but I can't speak highly enough of what he's done at Syracuse and changing the culture and continuing it, and what his future is going to lie ahead of him.
That coming from Joe Adam here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, former Syracuse offensive line coach, speaking on Eric Dungy, and current coach at Saint Anselm for the football program. And, we've talked about a lot of different things here this morning, Joe, but for you, I want to do something. There's something I do on my show called Rapid Fire, and I think we may have played this before, and, but it's off of the beaten path, so it gives us an opportunity to talk about kind of anything. And I like to do something that I know that most media people never do, which is allow themselves to be on the hot seat and be asked the question. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions. I'm going to let you ask me 3 questions. This is live radio. We have not prepared this. So Joe can ask me anything, and I can ask him anything. So, Joe, I'm going to start with you on this one. I know that family is important to you. So if you could take a vacation anywhere in the world now that spring ball is over, tell me if you could go anywhere, money's not an object, you could wherever, whenever. Who are you going with, and where are you going?
I'm going with my actually entire family. My kids have. I now have grandchildren, and
congratulations.
I technically have 4 of them. So we are taking the whole bunch, and I'm going to go to Rome, Italy. Rome is my number 1 destination, as I do like to travel with my wife. But I'd love to take my family to Rome. It's just an awesome experience. The ambiance, yes, the people, just love it there.
All right, Rome, Italy. My second question, an awesome answer. I got to get to Italy myself with my heritage. My second question to you is, I've seen the ups and downs of relationships, and sometimes you can put everything in, but it's a two-way street. What is your word of advice with finding the right person, kind of what the foundation should be?
It's funny. It's when you ask me that question, I think about the talk I give to my players, because they have girlfriends and they have tough times and stuff like that. And the underlying question is, does she make you a better man?
Right.
When you're around her, does she make you a better man? Is she a positive influence in your life? And if so, then you're on the right track. And if not, then you maybe need to reevaluate your situation.
And reevaluated I did. My third question for you is, this is part of the question. Do you watch scary movies?
Love them.
You love them. Okay. What are your top 3 scary movies of all time?
Oh, man. Probably, let's see. The old Salem's Lot's a pretty good one.
Okay.
The Exorcist, really good one. And I'd probably say Hostel.
Hostel. Okay. Now, will you go see the new ones? Will you go see like the remakes, like Child's Play and It and Pet Sematary? Will you go to those or no?
No, I tend not to do that. I tend to wait just because it's like remaking a classic. It's really hard to do. When they make the original and it's pretty good, usually the remake doesn't hold water. So I usually wait on that and just kind of feel the buzz. And when I have some free time, which I don't have a lot of anyway, I'll try to get out and watch something.
I will say that I'm not a fan of scary movies, but and I don't like clowns, but for some reason I like It, and the new It was very good. Very good.
I did see that.
So it was very good. My cousin, who is older than me, in the scene where the lights go off and it is huge and shows up in the garage. He jumped up in the air in the movie theater and punched me square in my left arm. So I want to thank him for that. He goes, "Why did you bring us here?" I said, "You drove, you idiot. I mean, you did it. You you literally brought us here. You did this to yourself. I'm not taking responsibility for your life." But yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I don't know why I like it, but I do. I have some connection to Stephen King because I like Rose Red and all that stuff. So so now I'm gonna throw it to you. You got 3 questions for me, Coach. What do you got?
All right. So are you if you have one choice of pizza, New York style or deep dish, which way are you going?
Always New York style. Always thin crust. Always. I've had deep dish. I respect deep dish. There's a really good place in D.C. that I like too, but I'm thin all the way. I'm going New York style.
Other than Syracuse, what is your next favorite U.S. city?
Oh, my next favorite U.S. city. That's tough. I would probably have to say Lake Buena Vista, which was a city created for Disney. It did not exist on the map, so people think it's Orlando. It's not. Disney is actually on Lake Buena Vista, Florida. That is their address. And I'm a Disney person. I could eat, sleep, and breathe and live there. So I would say Lake Buena Vista, Florida.
Cool. I'm gonna ask you something with a little bit of football flair here. So,
okay,
you are the GM of the Arizona Cardinals. Draft is coming.
Yeah.
Who are you selecting with the number 1 pick?
Not a quarterback. Not a quarterback. And not a guy who friggin' plays baseball. I mean, I'm seeing the stuff coming up this morning. If I'm drafting Nick Bosa or Ed Oliver, I'm drafting someone who's going to help my awful defense. I just, I know defense isn't whatever they call the sexy pick but defense wins championships. Defense gets you off the field. Defense helps you. So, Jacksonville Jaguars 2 years ago, how'd they get to almost the Super Bowl? Defense. So, it's the reality of it all is if I'm the Arizona Cardinals, first of all, I'm asking myself the question, why am I in the top few picks again? And why did I hire a coach that I didn't even keep for 365 days? So we all know that it's easy for this franchise to let go of something that they just got with the grass is greener on the other side. So what are they going to do with Rosen? I don't know. I mean, he's like 97 pounds soaking wet, so maybe they shouldn't have gone that route. But ultimately, if I'm them, I'm not drafting a quarterback. I just feel like they're Ryan Leaf in this thing right now, and I think that they need to sit back. They need to look at the defensive players that are out there. They need to think about success. They need to think about longevity and be smart about it. So if I'm the Arizona Cardinals, in all honesty, I'll be true with you, Joe. I think that the GM should call me right now. I think we need to have a talk.
Dan Tortora on the payroll here.
Yeah, that's right. I think we need to have a conversation. So with that being said, speaking of a conversation, we had a great one here this morning with Joe Adam. Joe Adam, the former offensive line coach at Syracuse. That's how we met. And years later here at Saint Anselm as the head football coach. And Joe, I have to thank you not only for your friendship, but keeping your word, always having a good relationship with me and spending time, and above all things, for pushing me to be the best person I can be and for pushing my faith. I definitely cannot thank you enough for, walking in and shaking your hand and saying, "Hey, Coach, I'd love to keep in touch and talk about this program," and then have it ultimately turn into a real friendship that has a lot of weight to it.
Appreciate that, Dan. And, I want to give a special shout-out as I'm talking to you this morning from Pullman, Washington, the home of the Washington State Cougars. I want to give a special shout-out to Coach Leach and his staff for being great hosts to me and my coaches here. We were doing a professional development piece after spring football, and they're a great group of coaches and a great group of guys, and just having the access that we've had over the past few days here to continue to get better, get better as people, get better as coaches, and take a little bit of peace back to the East Coast has been awesome.
And coming from Joe Adam, giving the shout-out and credit where credit is due. Joe, as always, I appreciate you. Happy Easter week, and I'll be talking with you very soon, I'm sure.
All right. Thanks. Appreciate it.